There's nothing like a high score in your favorite game to impress your friends and intimidate your virtual arcade enemies. That is, until a bigger fish comes along. Most people just play games, but some of us have a burning need to completely dominate them and prove it to the rest of the world while we're at it. Here are some of the biggest, boldest, and downright strangest video game records that are impossible to break. Longest GTA 4 6-star wanted level survival. Grand Theft Auto 4's virtual police force may be easily avoided with some luck and a little quick thinking, but they're no pushovers. Raise protagonist Nico Belik's wanted level to the highest possible rating of 6 stars, and he's pretty much toast. Snipers, helicopter gunships, and endless police armored vehicles will hound him to the ends of the virtual earth and back. With that kind of heat on, most players can only last a minute or two at most. Not so with Danish gamer Henrik Lindholm, who won the Guinness World Record for longest 6-star survival time at the Copenhagen Esport Challenge in 2009. Through a mixture of skill, strategy, and a healthy dose of pedal-to-the-metal crazy, Lindholm managed to hold out against the fuzz for an astonishing 16 minutes and 16 seconds without lowering his wanted level. It might not sound like a long time, but it's a heck of a lot better than we could manage. World's longest video game marathon, longest dancing game marathon, and longest motion sensing game marathon. Some people try their whole lives just to achieve one unbeatable world record. California schoolteacher and gamer Carrie Swidecki managed to knock out 3 world records all at once using the Xbox 360 motion sensing rhythm game Just Dance 4. By itself, Just Dance 4 is a pretty ordinary dancing game, in the same vein as its older and more famous cousin Dance Dance Revolution. Although it's fun enough for what it is, there's not much about it that's exciting or new until you hand it to a true master and turn her loose. With news cameras rolling, Swidecki set out to break the record for longest video game marathon. Her unprecedented 138-hour streak blew the previous contender, a man who played Call of Duty for 135 hours, out of the water with ease. And she managed to snag 2 other certified world records along the way too: longest dance game marathon and longest motion sensing game marathon. Somebody might beat her individual records someday, but not all 3 at once. Most expensive virtual real estate. Sure, plenty of video games have expensive in-game real estate. Remember shelling out 300,000 gil for Villa Cloud in Final Fantasy VII? But sometimes, the cost of an in-game property can be measured in real-world money. Such is the case with properties in Entropia Universe, a massively multiplayer online game with a science fiction setting. Players can exchange actual money for in-game currency at a rate of $10 in the game for every $1 spent. Entropia super player Eric Novaks, known as Buzz Eric Lightyear in the game, was already a well-known figure who owned a string of virtual shops when, in 2009, he decided to buy a space station that had been put up for auction. The winning bid? $3,300,000 in virtual money, a cool $330,000 in actual US dollars. Because the currency has a real-world exchange rate, the people at Guinness were able to confirm that this property, the Crystal Palace Space Station, was the most expensive piece of in-game property ever purchased by a player. Considering that this kind of money can buy an actual house in most places, it's hard to imagine anyone ever topping Novaks' record. All-time high score in E.T., the Extraterrestrial. Atari's E.T. the Extraterrestrial is a 1982 video game based on the Steven Spielberg movie. And if you know your video game history, then you know a little bit about this clunker. The game's designers rushed it through development in anticipation of enormous holiday season demand that never materialized. Not only was the finished product a very bad game, Atari manufactured so many copies that the company had to literally bury thousands of them in a New Mexico landfill when it turned out that nobody wanted them. To this day, E.T. serves as a cautionary tale for industry insiders, as its failure is often seen as a significant factor in the great video game industry crash of 1983. None of that, however, stopped YouTuber Glenn Case from sitting down with his Atari 2600 and spending more than 8 grueling hours guiding E.T. through the game to rack up a score so high, the game itself couldn't even keep track. The score counter rolls over at 100,000 points. As far as anyone knows, his final record, a whopping 1,058,399 points, stands as the world's highest score. Why would anyone want to hold a record for one of the most poorly received video games ever? It's hard to say, but if nothing else, it's unlikely anyone will ever have the patience to top it. Pac Man, arcade version, perfect game speed record. Classic arcade games are very serious business at the highest levels of play. People spend years of their lives training to be the absolute best at their chosen games, and even then, it's not often that a champion gets dethroned. However, world champion Pac Man player David Race has dethroned himself on numerous occasions by getting faster and faster times on his perfect playthroughs than anyone previously thought possible. So, what's a perfect game of Pac Man? To start with, it's a game that reaches the infamous kill screen, also known as the 256th game board. Due to the game's architecture, Pac Man glitches out on this map, meaning there's no way to progress beyond it. To make it to the kill screen is no small feat by itself, but a perfect game is much more than that. It's also a game in which the player never loses a life and collects all possible bonus points. The maximum high score in Pac Man, the perfect game score, is 3,333,360. David Race has not only achieved this score 5 times, he's also the only person to do it in under 3.5 hours, with his most recent effort clocking in at 3 hours, 28 minutes, 49 seconds. The next closest record is also Race's, so it's unlikely we'll ever see this record get broken, unless it's by the man himself. That's it for our list of video game records that are impossible to break. What did you think? Which high scores and speedruns do you think will never be topped? Be sure to like this video and tell us your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more.